I just said, you know what? I'm done. And no one's going to care. This is going to be the best option for everybody. Everyone was asleep. I went in my backyard and I tried to hang myself from a tree. And again, I wasn't successful. It was rough. I went inside and I just sat on the couch and I cried and I cried and I didn't know what to do.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Bunny Hugs and Mental Health, a free, safe space for people to share and learn from others' experiences with mental health and addictions. I'm Todd Rennebaum, a suicide attempt survivor and a recovering substance abuser. Got another great episode here. This one is with Brady Lee. Brady reached out to me a while back and said, I have a story to share. And I'm so glad he did, because a lot of men don't talk about their feelings or talk about their mental health issues. And Brady was kind enough and vulnerable enough to do that and to talk about a certain kind of therapy that I don't think I've discussed a whole lot on here. It's called TMS, and I'll let him explain how that works, or at least how it worked for him. Please don't forget, I also have a new podcast series out called Transgression, my search for the real trans agenda in Saskatchewan. But really, it's just trans issues everywhere, really. And it's on all the major podcast platforms out there, so you can look that up. And the link is also in the show notes. But back to this episode. Without further ado, I give you Brady Lee.
For me, it's been a crazy, obviously, I was diagnosed with depression about 5 years ago. I think I had it a lot longer than that. Just looking back, I can see some areas of my life growing up where I was like, yeah, that was my depression and anxiety, making itself known, but I didn't really understand it back then. There really wasn't dialogue about it. When I was growing up, it was just kind of, oh, that person's depressed. And then you're like, oh, are they really? Is it a cop-out type of thing, And
quick question. How old are you?
So I'm 36. I'm about to turn 37 this month. So.
Okay. So we're talking like 80s, 90s.
Yeah, I was born in 88. Yep. My whole thing is I want to kind of change the dialogue. There's definitely this stigma around men's mental health. And I've stayed pretty quiet the last 5 years. It took me a couple years to even tell my parents and my siblings, because I just was unsure of the reaction. It took me a while to come to terms with it, to accept it. And part of me was like, I shouldn't do this podcast because how's it going to impact me? I own a business with my wife and my in-laws. Like, what are clients going to think? Are they going to think differently? What are my employees going to think? Are they going to think, oh man, Brady's fragile. He can't handle things. You know what I mean?
He's human.
Yeah, seriously. Right. He has feelings. It's insane. But at the end of the day, I decided, you know what, if I don't do anything, I'm just perpetuating this stigma that we have of no one talks about men's mental health. And I mean, there's a lot of irony that I'll get into as we get going, but, people are losing their lives. They're committing suicide over mental health and not feeling like they have anyone to talk to. So if I sit here and say, oh, well, I'm not going to talk about my story, I'm just furthering the problem of no one talking about it.
Right. Especially men in like our age groupish.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's taboo, sadly.
Men between 40 and 60 or something like that, they're the highest. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Out of any demographic, they have the highest amount of suicide.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is really sad. And no one talks about it. Right. It just, yeah. So anyways, that's kind of what my motive is there. And I just read this really good book called The House in the Cerulean Sea. And it's a really good book. I recommend it for everybody. It's not necessarily the most exciting, but it's super impactful of where this guy basically meets all these orphans and decides to not take them for face value, but realize there's more to these kids than what they're labeled as. And one of the most impactful lines is he says, the way to start change is just by changing a few minds. And so I was like, if we could just change a couple minds and get people talking more and more about mental health and less people committing suicide, then I think it's a win. I know it's a win. So,
and kudos to you if this is your first kind of, I guess, public
Yeah.
publicly talking about it with someone you've never met.
Yeah. I know, right? Kind of crazy. But I listened to your podcast and I resonate with a lot of the things that are on there and a lot of the people you've interviewed. So, and the mission is super important. So I'm excited to kind of help with that.
Perfect. Love it. So,
should we dive in?
Yeah.
All right. So just a little bit about me. So I'm married. We've been married. We just had our 15-year anniversary. We've got 3 little kids, 9, 7, and my little guy turns 4 tomorrow. So we are busy. And then we also own a business. We have a tennis academy. And we're like go tennis all the time, just super busy, which is good and really bad in some ways. And it's been a difficult thing to navigate, having a family and running a business and dealing with mental health. But yeah, about 5 years ago is when it really, really started, where I'm from Utah, right? So winters here, well, you're in Canada, so winters there suck more, but I don't love the winter. And Utah, it drags and drags and drags. And so I definitely notice my mental health deteriorates in the winter. And so this is kind of when it started. And I'll never forget, I was just so overwhelmed with everything. And I had, for the first time, the thought of, man, I kind of wish I wasn't here. I kind of wish I wasn't alive. And at first I tried to just suppress and be like, no, that's crazy. That's crazy. Kind of ignored it. And then it happened again a couple weeks later and I like really sat with it and I was like, man, I didn't realize how miserable I was. Like when I really dove into it, I realized, people say, I think one of the best ways I've heard depression explained is you see the world, but it looks like someone came through with a paintbrush and just painted everything gray. And you don't see the colors and the excitement. And honestly, that is how it was for the longest time. And so I shockingly told my wife a couple days after that I basically was wishing that I wanted to kill myself. And
did you actually wish you would kill yourself, or you just wished that you would die? Because
yeah,
you're right. A spectrum, right?
Two things. Yes. And yeah, I guess at the time I wish I wasn't alive, right? I didn't have any action or anything planned as far as killing myself. I saved that for later on, but, and I'm sorry, sometimes I cope with things with humor. So,
do not apologize. I warn all my guests. Well, maybe you got the letter in the instructions. One of the things is, I'm a smart ass. I'm sorry. Already.
Yes, dude. I'm the same way. And my wife will definitely attest to that. So I do sometimes cope with serious things with humor. And some people are like, what's wrong with you? Why are you joking about that? But it's just how I cope. So if it offends anybody, I'm sorry. But yeah, anyways, I did talk to my wife about it, which this is kind of a theme to my story. I keep emotions pretty locked in. And it was, looking back, I'm surprised I did talk to my wife because I just would keep it in and suppress it. And we had a really emotional conversation and she got me into therapy really within a week. She was obviously scared, and her side of the story, I feel terrible about, which I'll get into a little bit later, just the amount of stress that I've caused her. But she is a rock star. Like she didn't hesitate. She just called, got me into therapy as quick as she could. And it was great. And I started that next week and things were going really well. I obviously had a lot to talk about. And then she got me into a psychiatrist. So I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety and got put on some medication. My first psychiatrist kind of sucked because he didn't tell me anything about side effects of antidepressants. He just said, hey, here you go. Oh, and here's this sleeping pill, because my sleep was so bad. I didn't realize it was going to freaking knock me out for like a day. And so that sleeping pill, I was like, okay, I learned that. And then with my antidepressant, I just had these weird side effects that I was unaware of. And so I went back, and luckily he was gone, actually. And which I wasn't too sad about. And then I got a new psychiatrist, and she's amazing. I'm still with her. It's been 4 years with her, and she is incredible. And super grateful for her. And so, yeah, we started the journey of antidepressants, which, as you know, and as a lot of people know, it is a journey, and it's figuring out the right cocktail of what works and what doesn't work. And I had a lot of things that worked, I had a lot of things that didn't work. And yeah, so that was a little overwhelming, but the medication definitely helped. Therapy was helping a lot. Meeting with my psychiatrist was helping a lot. And so I kind of just was in cruise control for a little bit, just like, okay, I'm working on this, working on my feelings, working on my emotions, all this stuff.
Was color coming back to your world, or?
Yeah, I had moments where I was like, okay, it's not too bad. Honestly, from where I've been the last like 18 months, looking back then, it seems like a breeze. I've definitely, it's gotten deeper and worse since then. Looking back, man, I wish I could go back there, because it was, it sucked, but it was manageable,
Right. You're being proactive, at least. So
so I'm doing something. Exactly. I feel like I was doing the work, but then I just kind of hit a wall. And I don't know if you've had this with therapy. I've had this quite a few times where you just kind of hit a wall in talk therapy where, I feel like I'm not really sure. Like, I'm going in appointments, like, I don't even know what I'm talking about today. And I just said, it might be time to switch it up a little bit. And so I stopped going to therapy for a little while, kept up with my meds and with my psychiatrist. And then we weren't having a ton of success with the medicine. And so she recommended ketamine. And I had never done ketamine before. I'd never done psychedelics, not a drug user. And so at first I was a little skeptical, but then as she got talking about the research and benefits and stuff, I was like, you know what, let's just go for it. And my first ketamine experience was amazing. Like, set the standard super high, where everything after that was kind of a disappointment.
Like, having depression's awesome.
Yeah. Right. No, so my grandpa is from Mexico. Okay. I never met him. He died before I was born. And the day that I did ketamine was actually Day of the Dead. And I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with that holiday, right? Coco, the movie. And honestly, when I was under with the ketamine, I felt like I was in Coco. I showed up and I knew I was at my great grandma's grave in Mexico. And I just knew it. I saw her sugar skull. Like, I just knew it was her. And I got this clear message that said, hey, you've got some crap to figure out. You need to get to work so we can stop this from being passed down generationally, or at least getting the tools so you can help the people, and super impactful, where I was just like, okay. And I know sometimes when people think of like visions and stuff, you're like, dude, you're freaking nuts. Right. Mm-hmm. And I'm not like a visionary person by any stretch, but this was like such a cool experience that I couldn't deny it, where I was like, okay, I've got some ancestors here wanting to help. And I mean, in typical Latina fashion, just being direct and being like, yo, get your crap together. You got to take this seriously. And that was my main takeaway, is like, take this seriously, because you're kind of half-assing your way through it. You got to take this seriously. And so really, really cool experience. Motivated me. I didn't have any tattoos till about 4 years ago. I got a big old tattoo here on my chest and my arm that is for my Mexican side, and also from this experience, because I needed like a visual, physical reminder of like, hey, you're not alone, and you got to take this seriously. And so that was a really, really cool experience. Yeah. It's Coco. Yeah, seriously. So it was cool, and kind of woke me up and said, okay, I got to get back into this, get back into therapy. And so I did. But that one was just telehealth, just over the computer. Had a harder time with that. I just feel like it's just not the same. So
was this during COVID?
This was in 21. So there weren't as many COVID restrictions.
Gotcha.
But I do think because of COVID, right, that's when all the telehealth stuff started happening. And I got it. I mean, I get it why providers did it that way. But I definitely prefer in person. So I kind of hit a wall again, And I was like, okay, well, now I got to figure something out. And then eventually I landed with my therapist that I'm still with. Her name's Tammy. Just incredible. Like, she's amazing. Probably saved my life multiple times. And just, she's direct, somewhat harsh, kind of kicks me in the pants to pull my head out. And I love it. And it's what I need. So I was really happy about that. I had a good thing going with my psychiatrist. We were doing ketamine a couple times a month, and my therapist, and I was on meds, and things were looking up, I should say. Like, I felt okay, but then the next summer it just came crashing down. Like, and I've had this cycle where, hey, things are good, but then you can kind of sense that something is going to crash. And I've had that where I'm like, boom, I'm great. And then boom, just crash and burn. And there were a couple circumstances that contributed to it, which I'll get into. So it's very ironic. When I hear about other people committing suicide, it destroys me, like people that I know. And I've thought a lot about this. Sometimes it's survivor's guilt. It's, that should be me. That shouldn't be them. Their life is worth living. Their life is valuable. They have a spouse, they have kids, they have parents, they have siblings. And in another person, I can see it, right? Like, you're so valuable, right? People need you. But I don't see that in myself, right? It's a very interesting dichotomy where it's just a tricky thing. So one of our family friends, one of their sons committed suicide. This was in September of, I'm getting my years mixed up, 21 or 22.
You are old then.
I know, man. And I'll never forget getting that phone call. And I heard from my parents as well as my in-laws, and they said he was on medication, stopped taking his meds, and then ended up committing suicide. And I found out, sorry, I'm probably going to get emotional several times in this interview. I'll try to keep it in check. I
no judgment here.
Yeah. I just don't want to be like
time.
bawling into the microphone and hurting people's ears. Anyways, I found out. That's true.
I can turn it down.
Fair point. I just came into my office and I fell on the ground. I just started crying. I was hyperventilating. And I said, that should be me. It shouldn't be him. And not in the sense of like, oh, I'm going to kill myself. It just brought this weird guilt of like, my life isn't worth living. His is.
How old was he?
He was in his early 20s. Super sad. And then I just kind of had this realization of like, this is my fate, right? Like, I'm in this freaking battle. How long can I keep this battle going? Because it is exhausting. Yeah. And so anytime I hear like close proximity of people committing suicide, it really, really hits me. And I've had a couple other experiences. One of my employees, his sister committed suicide about 1.5 years ago, and I had no idea. And we actually ran into him and his parents at a park, and the funeral was the day before. And I had no idea, and talked to them just like everything was normal, and they were great. They didn't tell me at the time. They didn't want to get into it. But then Zach, my employee, talked to me a couple of days later about it and said, hey, my parents just, thought you should know. And we were close with them. We traveled a lot with them for tennis tournaments and stuff. And again, it just like hit me like a ton of bricks, where it put me in this funk for a couple of days where I just in this deep fog. And, it's like, is this the reality of like, this is going to be me? And then fast forward to this year, one of my good friends from high school killed himself. And he has 3 kids, about the same age as my kids. We're friends with him and his wife, see him all the time. Kids go to the same school. And again, it just destroyed me. And I couldn't even go to the funeral, which I felt terrible about. But I talked to my therapist, and she's like, I don't know, given your situation, if it's a good idea. And I struggled with that for a while. So yeah, all those times it just really hits home. And yeah, it just destroys me. And it, especially this one, I said, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but this year has been rough. And I said, man, all these people are succumbing. Like, is it a matter of time? You know? Yeah. So very, just really, really sad. And again, I see it, my psychiatrist, and I'll get to this in a little bit, talk to me about it. Like, you would do anything to have those people not commit suicide. Yeah. In yourself, you're suicidal. You don't see what you see in those people. And I'm like, yeah, you're 100% right. And I mean, depression is a sick son of a bitch where it just plays these games with you. It lies to you. Right. And yeah, so sorry, I got ahead of myself, but I'm going to rewind a little bit. So back after that first experience of hearing of our family friend committing suicide, it really sent me in this downward spiral. And I was, up to that point, as the most suicidal I had been. And I'll never forget this night. It was in September. And again, back in 21 or 22. And I said, I'm going to do it tonight. I'm going to kill myself. And I put my girls to bed. At the time, they were 3 and 5, and they have no idea. And I gave a hug, told them good night, and then I said goodbye. And walked out of their room, and I was going to go down to the garage. And luckily, my wife intercepted me on the stairs. She heard me crying, didn't know what was going on, and was able to calm me down. And she didn't know at the time that she saved my life. I didn't tell her, what my plan was. She just held me. We cried for a while, and then I just repressed it. I kept that in. I didn't really talk to her about it. She just thought, okay, you're just still dealing, with all these emotions. It's okay. And she was great. And then I just said, okay, we're not going to talk about that, because that's just, what I do. I just keep my feelings inside. And then actually a couple weeks later, we went on a trip to Disney World with the kids, had a lot of fun, which is great. I do great on vacation for the most part because I'm distracted, taken out of the day-to-day. But as soon as I got home, I was right back where I was. And then I told my wife about it, which was obviously very hard for her to hear.
Told her about the plan that you had that night?
Yeah, that said goodbye to the girls and that I was done. And so she handled it as well as anybody could. Not an easy thing. And we just kind of doubled down on therapy again, getting back in consistently, to get all the help that I could. And again, credit to my therapist and my psychiatrist. They were great and, helped me get more regulated, I should say. We switched up medicine a tremendous amount. I've been on so many antidepressants and anti-anxiety pills and sleeping pills. And finally, we landed on a cocktail that really worked pretty well for a while. And, I had that foolish, naive thought of like, oh, cool, I'm fixed. It's better. But again, comes a crash, right? And so I kind of just, for the last little bit, just have gone through these peaks and valleys of doing well, everything's great, to being like, oh man, this is rough, things aren't great. I tried to blame it on different things. I said, oh, well, it's just, the winter time. That's why I have seasonal depression. And then I'm like, oh, it's summertime and I hate my life and I hate myself. So probably not related to the weather. My first therapist said, I think you have situational depression, which I was like, okay. And then I quickly realized, okay, it's not situational depression. I appreciate the positivity. But yeah, I just had these peaks and valleys of feeling great and feeling bad, and kind of just coasted like that for a little bit and just said, okay, this is the new normal. But then back in the winter of 23, things like really came to a head where my anxiety just went through the roof. And man, anxiety is the worst. It is so hard to deal with. I didn't know how to cope with it. But it started where I would feel pretty good. And then as soon as I put my kids to bed and it's like nighttime, I get to chill for a little bit, shower, get ready for bed, all those things. It just like hit me every night like clockwork. And it's this anxiety is tricky, right? Because my therapist was like, you realize you're psyching yourself out and kind of causing this. And I was like, yes, I get it, but I don't know how not to because it's miserable. And so when my anxiety would hit, I didn't know what to do. Like I got hot, like my body temperature went up, my breathing was increased. And so what I did is I would take my sleeping pill, I would take 25 milligrams of melatonin, and I would go lay in my bed until I pass out. That's the only way I could deal with it. And there was one time on a Sunday where it hit me in the afternoon, and I took all the melatonin and sleeping pills at 6 p.m. because I couldn't deal with it other than sleeping. And then I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh, cool, I'm fine. But then every night it would just come in, and it was rough, really, really rough. Like, and man, association is so real, and it sucks because it was Christmas time. And now I associate Christmas with really high anxiety. And so I dealt with this, for months. And last year I told my wife, I was like, I don't even want to decorate for Christmas because we start putting Christmas stuff up. I start listening to Christmas music, like it's all coming back, and I can't do that again. And, I got put on anti-anxiety pills. I have mixed feelings about those because I realize anxiety, there's a big mental component where, I was psyching myself out and I wasn't doing the right things to deal with the anxiety. But luckily, it lasted for about 4 to 5 months. And then my wife and I went to Mexico for spring break and didn't experience it on the trip. And I was like, this is great. And I got home and then been able to keep it at bay for the most part. It still crops up, but I'm not having anxiety attacks. Like during that winter, I'll never forget the day before Christmas Eve, took my dogs on a walk, came home, and boom, it just like hit me right in the face. And my anxiety was terrible. Had this anxiety attack. My wife was laying next to me, just like rubbing my back, trying to get me to calm down till I fell asleep. And so it was rough, really rough go.
This is apples and oranges, or I don't know, maybe not, but what do you hate feeling more, depressed or anxiety?
So this is such a good question. Honestly, I hate anxiety more.
I think I do too.
Because it's crippling, right? And depression is too, but like anxiety is like you can't function in the moment.
There's been times with depression I couldn't function, but it was like just a heavy blanket. I just laid in bed, and then, like, I'm not saying it's easy at all. Depression is not easy.
Right.
It's scary and dark, but it's like anxiety is like being stung by 1,000 bees all the time, and you're just like scared of everything, and you don't know why. And why can't I just fucking be normal? Fuck! Like other people can go to work. Why am I so terrified? Yeah.
Yes. Dude. Oh man. Yeah, that hits home. 100%. I have said that to my therapist, my psychiatrist, like I would rather have a depressive episode than have these anxiety attacks. Because you're right. It's like you're just getting stung by bees. You can't do anything about it. And depression, I can still work my way through it. Like it actually work for my job and function, even though, it sucks and I'm miserable and it's gray and my head is in a daze. But anxiety
feels heavy.
Yeah, it feels heavy, but anxiety, I can't do anything. It's so hard. So that is when self-harm came into the picture. And I've been very embarrassed, I think, to talk about self-harm because I feel like same thing as with everything, there's a stigma with men doing it. And you think of, okay, if people are harming themselves, cutting themselves, you think of like, this is terrible, but you think of like emo teenagers, like, oh, that is just teenagers. You don't think about adults doing it. And I was like, I don't know. I just reached a point where I was like, I need some sort of release. And so I started cutting my arms. not as suicide attempts of slitting my wrists, but just as, just cutting them. And it was, at first I like couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I've got all these issues. And then, but it was a release, sadly. It was a release. And it got worse and worse, where I started cutting more and more on my arms. And at the time it was winter. So I was like, well, I can, wear sweatshirts and long sleeve shirts, even at the gym. Nobody will notice, but I'm also stupid because I'm married. Obviously my wife's going to see it. But looking back, it's like, okay, yeah, it was a release, but was it also a cry for help? Like no one can see the mental health crap I'm dealing with. But if they see this, maybe they'll want to help or ask about it, because again, it's really hard for me to just come out and talk about it. And so I think part of it was, this might be a cry for help.
Mm-hmm. Self-harm. A lot of people don't even realize they're doing self-harm could be getting drunk every night.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It can be, just not taking care of yourself. And
yeah, it's true.
People always go to cutting, but I mean, there's a lot of ways you can self-harm.
Yeah, no, tremendous amount. And for me, it was just, I think, the most appealing because you could see the result immediately, right? Like and again,
it's not passive. It's more.
Yeah, not passive at all.
A new season of Love Me is here. Real stories of real, complicated relationships.
It's not even like a gender. I mean, it's wrapped up in gender, but it's just a really deep self-hate.
I think I cried almost every day. I just threw myself on the floor.
He's coming on really straight. It's like he's trying to date you all of a sudden.
Yeah, and I do look like my mother.
Love Me. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
And, and I should have prefaced with this, like, I've been worried about talking about all this stuff, but I think the message I want for everyone who doesn't deal with mental health issues, depression, anxiety, OCD, ADHD, anything, is don't judge them until you've experienced what they've experienced. Because it's very simple for people who have never been depressed, clinically, or have never had anxiety problems. Like, their brains work wonderfully. For them, they probably are like, whoa, I don't understand that at all. And I'm not faulting my wife whatsoever, but like, her reaction wasn't great. And we've talked a lot about this and she feels really bad, but I don't blame her because she doesn't understand what I've been going through. And so when she saw the self-harm, she's like, Brady, that is unacceptable. You need to stop. And I was like, Cassia, that's not going to help, And again, I'm not throwing her under the bus whatsoever. I don't blame her for reacting that way. I probably would have reacted the same. Like, it is a scary thing, and she's had so much on her plate. But we've been able to talk through it. She's been into therapy and talked about ways to help and stuff. So it's definitely gotten better. But I just want to preface because we're half hour in, but I just want to reiterate that if you haven't felt this way, don't judge, because it is a different world.
And I mean, that's a lot of people's reactions are like that.
Yeah.
Like the whole man up thing and all that stuff. But, and as a parent, even someone who's gone through it all, and you see a kid go through what you've gone through, and you do understand, you do just almost want to just shake them and like give them shit as opposed to.
100%. 100%. And honestly, that phrase man up, I think, is one of the most, what's the word? I think it's one of the worst like phrases that we've come up with, because it's like, oh yeah, just man up, rub some dirt in it, And for especially like teenagers, what do you think? You think they're going to feel comfortable talking to their parents or people if they just say, oh, just stop being a baby, just man up, And it's like, no, this crap needs to be addressed. Like, it's okay to admit that you're not okay. That's okay.
Yeah. Or, oh, so I'm not a man because I feel this way?
Yeah.
I have to man up. I'm not a man? Well, all the more reason then, I guess.
Yeah. Just kind of and I hate that, it's just kind of I don't know if dangerous is the right word, but I definitely think it sends the wrong message at times. So anyways, sorry, I went off on a tangent a little bit there.
No worries.
But yeah, so
You've listened to my episodes.
I mean, hey, that's why I resonate with you. I'm all over the place. I'm like a dog with a squirrel, so it's all good. But yeah, so the self-harm got worse. I went from my arms to my legs pretty extensively. And honestly, since my anxiety almost 2 years ago, I've just been in this steady funk. So coming up on 2 years where, yes, I've had days of being happy and all that, but a lot of just severe depression. And so cutting was an outlet. You know, it was a release. And again, doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but the pain is a reminder. You see the scratches, and yeah, it was just a release. And so it got, not great. My legs didn't look great. I have scars, and I actually just got a big tattoo a couple weeks ago that has a lot of meaning to me. It's for my kids. I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. And so I have a direwolf on there, and it says the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. And then I have some things surrounding the direwolf that represent my kids. And so it's twofold of I'm doing this tattoo for my kids, but also to show me I need people. I can't do this by myself, but also is to cover up my scars because, you know, at the end of the day, I understand why I was harming myself, but it is an embarrassing thing to talk about. And so, I mean, good or bad covering them up, I don't know, but it was just kind of the decision I made. And I'm doing better with that. Again, I'll get to this in a little bit, but from a self-harm standpoint, it's gotten a lot better over the last couple months.
Do you have any sort of faith?
So great question. We're from Utah. You have interviewed some gay Mormons, right? So I'm in the Mormon capital of the world, but we are not religious. Used to be, but we're not anymore.
So you were Mormon?
Yeah, we were till a while ago. We stopped going at like COVID time.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, and now I'm just not a religious person. I don't love the idea of religion. So, but that is a good question. And I was waiting for it. I thought that'd be one of the first questions since I'm from Utah.
I probably thought of it and then I didn't write it down. So
yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Let's review. So,
okay.
So you had been feeling like crap. You eventually told your wife. You started seeing a therapist, tried different meds, a couple psychiatrists, up and down. Have good times, did have shit times.
Yep.
Then one night you had sounds like a pretty serious suicidal ideation thought.
Mm-hmm.
Told your wife. Then you started seeing your therapist again. So then you started cutting. You started feeling like shit again. You started cutting. Your wife said that's unacceptable. What would God say? No,
yeah, she definitely did say that. So yeah, that's basically where we're at. Now we're getting into the meat and potatoes. Yeah. So again, since all those anxiety issues, it's just been rough and continued with meds, continued with therapy, continued with my psychiatry appointments. Was doing ketamine, looking for, other ways like yoga, meditation, stuff like that.
You also had some people you cared about die suicide.
Yeah.
So then,
which was really tough. Yep. And so, it's just, my doctors said we're dealing with treatment resistant depression, which that's a fun thing to hear. 'Cause you're like, oh, cool. So nothing's going to work, And in April of this year,
your superpower.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I wish. So April of this year, I just had enough. And I said, I'm done with medication. I'm done with my meds, which in hindsight was a terrible idea. I did talk to my psychiatrist about weaning off of one of them. I was on Prestique, which is awful to wean off of. I don't remember what the actual name is.
Sounds like a Marvel character.
Yeah. Well, if it is, it's the worst one because this medicine sucked. It took me like 3 months to wean off of it. And if you forgot a dose, you felt like you had the flu the next day. You get brain zaps. You feel like you can't think clearly, right?
I'm on Effexor and it's very similar.
Oh, it is. It's awful. the withdrawals were so bad. And so I told my psychiatrist, like, I'm sick of this. I'm good at taking my meds, but man, when I miss a day, just for whatever, because I take it at nighttime and you fall asleep on the couch or whatever, dude, the next
hangover.
Dude, yeah, it was terrible. And here I am, I'm still expected to go work, take care of the kids, do all these things. But it just felt terrible. So I weaned off of that, but it took like 3 months. I had to go from like 150 milligrams to 100, from 100 to 50. That was too big of a drop. So I had to go 75, then 50, then 25, then 0. And it was a freaking battle. But I said, you know what? Screw all these meds. Like, they're telling me I'm not getting better. I don't feel better. Why am I wasting money? The other thing is we're self-employed, so we don't have insurance. So we're paying for everything out of pocket.
What were meds costing?
It varied. The pharmacy was great with people who weren't insured, where, I'd get a discount. But I mean, monthly, on a normal month, when I was like maintenance, I'm about $1,000 a month in not just meds, in therapy, psychiatry, and medicine. About $1,000 a month.
Fuck, I'd be dead.
Yeah. I mean, it sucked. And we said, well, obviously my wife, of course, I'm like, it's fine, I'll stop. And my wife's like, no, you're going to die. So it's fine. We can spend the money. Luckily, I just met with an insurance agent yesterday and we're finally going to get insurance. So hopefully that gets better. But the real kicker was we were expanding. We added another tennis facility with 3 more indoor courts.
I thought you meant another kid.
Oh, no. We're done there. 3 is a good number. But during the expansion, we had to come up with all this money for the bank, getting financed. Basically, we took a ginormous pay cut for over a year. But the problem with that is my mental health expenses weren't stopping. So we just had to put everything on a credit card. And in the winter, this last winter, when I was really, really bad, my psychiatrist, I was doing ketamine twice a week for 3 weeks, which is $500. It's $250 a time. And then for 3 weeks, once a week. And all the appointments on top of that. So we had no choice. We put on a freaking credit card. And man, did that rack up fast. And that was a shit situation because it's like, I have to do this, but we're not making money. That was, obviously not great. Luckily, we opened our expansion in the spring and then now things are rolling and we're okay. And we're making money again, but we still got to pay down all that credit card debt, unfortunately. Anyway, so April, said I was done with meds, had a couple triggers as I was getting off my meds. Suicidality came back with a vengeance. And this was the first time I took action towards committing suicide. Everyone was asleep and I went into my garage and I tried to hang myself. Obviously it didn't work. And it was, it didn't work. What I was trying to hang myself on, it was just not high enough. It was sliding down. And after 10 minutes, I said, okay, this is a sign. Like, let's go inside and move on.
Sorry, that was when?
That was just in April. Yep. So not too long ago.
I'm so sorry that well, I'm the same way. I know people that have died of suicide. I was from a small town, 17-year-old kid a block away from us did it. And this is after I had started talking about it publicly. And I know you're talking to me and you're okay right now, but it still fucking upsets me too. And it's like, it's not, I can't think of the words to say. Like, I know it sounds sorry to say or stupid to say, I'm sorry you had to feel
deal
that,
with that.
Go through it, but it's not.
It seems cliche, right? But it's genuine.
Thoughts and prayers, I don't know. I don't know.
Yes. Oh, our thoughts and prayers are with you. Oh, thank you. But I get it.
And like suicidality is actually a symptom of withdrawal from a lot of these medications.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And looking back for sure what I was dealing with the withdrawals, and so now I can say, luckily I wasn't successful that night. And again, kept it inside because I feel terrible adding this to my wife's plate. And it's one of my, we'll get here in a minute, but it's one of the things that I have to do better on is talking to people in the moment. But for me, when I'm feeling like that, so one of my biggest things is I hate inconveniencing people. I hate it. And I feel like I'm imposing when I ask for help. And so I'm like the king of not asking for help. It drives my wife insane. because I'm like, I'm not important enough for you to change your schedule, right? Like, again, it comes back to this depression where it lies to you and it says, you're not worth it. You don't have value. Like, no, you're not important enough. And so I would just say, no one's going to want to talk to me about the fact that I want to kill myself right now, you know? And I should say with depression, like the tricks it plays on you, I truly have believed for probably 5 years that my family is better off without me. And I've had several conversations with my wife about it. And obviously those conversations are going to go nowhere because I am at...
So you're trying to convince her.
Right. Not so much like convince her of just saying like, I truly feel this way. And she's saying, Brady, how can you say that? Like, look at the kids, look at me, like we need you. But for me, I'm like, you don't, like, you'd be fine with anybody else. And,
as a consultant,
yeah,
I can tell you,
yeah. But no, it's like, it's just those games that depression plays on you where you can't think in reality. And so you just are convinced that, yeah, you're not worth it. And it's sad. And so I feel so bad for my wife because, again, it's just been like 5 years and she knows when I'm really bad. She gets really worried. In January, this one broke my heart. She took the kids to, her family had like a dinner on a Sunday night or something, and I had to stay back and work. I was just stringing, I had a ton of tennis rackets I had to string. And so I went down to our tennis academy and I was stringing rackets, watching NFL playoffs were on. And so then I went and I cleaned out my truck and I grabbed some dinner. And when I was cleaning my truck, my wife called me because she got home. She got dropped off at our house and I wasn't home. And it was so cold that our garage door opener wasn't working. And so she couldn't get in and the house was pitch black. And so she calls me probably 5 times and I'm vacuuming out my truck so I don't hear it. And then I get back in the truck and I see, oh, all these missed calls. And I call her and she's like, where are you? Like super mad. And I was like, whoa, like I'm just cleaning the car. I'll be home in a little bit. Come to find out, where does her mind go? She thought I'd killed myself. And talk about heavy. And so she was obviously super scared. And then I realized, man, the stress, which is, again, my depression, the stress I'm causing it's not fair, right? Like I'm the reason she feels this way. And I had a hard time like letting that go and letting her stress about me. Like obviously she's going to be stressed about me. And if roles were reversed, I'd be stressed out of my mind. But I mean, I feel like for the last 5 years, she's just been carrying all this stress about me, but also the kids, just raising a family, running a business where, you know, that's one of the worst parts is seeing how much it affects her. But then it's like, you do care about me, you love me, right? Which again, the depression's saying no, but it's like, it's a hard thing for me to accept that.
Has it affected your relationship in the way that, like, I know some people, it's like their spouse almost becomes a caregiver in a way. And then the relationship never really gets back to the way it was, or right. Depending on the relationship, depending on the people.
Oh, for sure. And I could 100% see how that happens with a lot of people because you dissociate, right? And you're just like a shell of yourself. And so there are times, where you're just like dead to the world. You feel so heavy. But honestly, she's been like my guardian angel. She's been amazing and has been there to take care of me every step of the way with zero judgment. She just wants me to get help. And she's been great. And does my depression impact our relationship negatively? Definitely it does, because of self-deprecation, just no self-worth, stuff like that. That's going to cause some issues, but
get confident, you stupid.
Yeah, right. If only it was that easy.
That's a Simpsons quote. It. Anyway.
So, but
I mean, everybody has something, right? And I mean, if she was struggling with severe diabetes or something, of course it's going to affect negatively or things.
1,000%. But no, she's been great. Honestly, I don't know how she's done it, but she's been amazing. And I'm very grateful that I've had her because, yeah.
My wife too.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad you got a good one.
Love you up there. She's upstairs, not dead.
Oh, I was like, what the heck? Oh, man.
Right. I'm in my basement. Sorry.
Okay. I feel better about that. So, but yeah, I mean, so back to April, right? Where I just like was feeling terrible. Honestly, since then, it has just been the worst it's ever been for me, for sure.
I'm assuming at some point you told your wife about the attempted hanging.
Yeah, I did, but sometimes I'm strategic, and it was like a month later, and where it just doesn't hit the same. Like obviously super sad, but I put off like, oh, this is a month ago. I'm fine now. Like I'm okay. She obviously doesn't believe me, but she also is put in this position of what does she do? She can't literally hold my hand and watch me every second. And so that's when she got after me, is a nice way to say it, of I need to be more open and I need to talk about when things are feeling terrible. I need to tell her that,
Just an hour ago, I was talking to someone else doing an interview here, and she said by talking, it takes away 80% of the probability of actually going through with the suicide attempt by talking about it.
Oh man, that makes a lot of sense.
And I mean, the shitty part is you don't talk about it, you do it. People, you're like, what, them?
Yeah.
Or you talk about it and there is a stigma, and then people are like, oh God, they're just being dramatic, or they're looking for attention, or it's a cry for help. And it's like, yeah, it's a fucking cry for help.
Yeah, they're going to.
That's why I'm talking about it.
Seriously. I know. Yeah. I mean, there's a billboard here in Salt Lake that says conversation can prevent suicide. And man, has that hit home the last couple of months, where it's true. If my wife was there or not there, if I went and talked to her, obviously, if I say, okay, I'm going to go upstairs and tell her, I would never go downstairs and attempt. Right. Because she wouldn't let that happen. So that's probably the best thing I've heard.
And it doesn't have to be her every time either.
Right. Anybody. But yeah, so it's just been, since then, it was just miserable, just in this, trapped in my own head, honestly, gray everywhere, couldn't see color. And the thing is, when people listen to this, or I tell people about my mental health, they are shocked, because I am like so good at masking my emotions. Like when I have to go teach tennis, I have to go meetings with employees, I can put on a smile. I joke all the time, and people just think, oh, you're this happy-go-lucky person. And I don't let my real side be seen. And so a lot of people are like, what? They're like so surprised by it. So that leads up to July of this year, is when I tried to kill myself. Again, this one was more thought out. I went in my backyard. Everyone was asleep, and I tried to hang myself from a tree. Luckily, it didn't work. I can say luckily now, because I do feel like I'm in a much better space, and I'm happy to be alive. But that was a rough night. And again, because I'm me, I didn't reach out to anybody. I just said, you know what? I'm done, and no one's going to care, right? This is going to be the best option for everybody. And I tried, and again, I wasn't successful. I don't know how many details people want on that, but
Brady,
it was rough. I went inside and I just sat on the couch and I cried and I cried, and I didn't know what to do. And I said, this is it. Like, at some point, this is going to win. I cannot keep doing this. But luckily, my wife saw how miserable I had been. And are you familiar with TMS? It's called transcranial magnetic stimulation. So in Utah, in St. George, which is about 4 hours south of us, there's a clinic down there, and they do TMS, and they're one of like, I don't remember, 5 programs in the country where you go in for 5 days, and every day you do 10 treatments every hour. And again,
every hour. Wow.
Yeah. So sorry, every hour you're doing one treatment. So you're there for 10 hours and they put this thing on your head and impulses just, yeah, that's the sound, vibrates in your teeth. There's times where I felt like my eye was going to explode. But they changed it, so it makes it more comfortable. Anyways, some of our friends had friends that went there and had a lot of success. Because we didn't have insurance, we're self-pay. It was $5,000. And so I was like, we can't do it. We can't do it. We can't do it. My wife realized how dire the situation was, and she booked it. She just called and said, Brady needs to do it. We just put on a credit card. And so I went down there this summer, and that was like my last hope. Honestly, I said to my wife, I'm terrified because what if this doesn't work? Like, we've tried everything. What am I going to do if it doesn't work? Like, I felt like I was out of options. And so the ironic thing is I did TMS. I went down to St. George for a week. I was there by myself, did 50 treatments. And it was after the TMS that I attempted to kill myself. TMS is interesting. It's different for everybody. Some people feel better immediately. Some people, like me, I didn't feel better for a while. It took about a month until I felt like I started to see positive effects from it.
So you had just come to the conclusion it didn't work and fuck it. Exactly.
I said that was a waste of time. It was a waste of money. We're done. And here's again, my psychiatrist brought this up, a very interesting dichotomy where that Saturday night I tried to kill myself. I didn't talk to anybody. The next morning I went to the gym by myself and I called some facilities because I said, I really need help. I need to check myself in. And I started to think clearly where I said, well, there was one thing I read that just ripped my heart out and helped me realize how bad I needed help. It was on Reddit. I read where someone was talking about how miserable they were with suicide, the only option. And then this dad said, don't do it. My son committed suicide like 3 years ago. And every day I think about joining him. And I said, whoa, I've got to do something because it's really hard for me to admit that I have value and that people need me. But the thing that tears my heart out is if my kids had to deal with all this crap I'm dealing with, and if they ever got to that point and were suicidal, I can't think of anything worse. And so that was a good wake-up call. And I said, I've got to take this seriously. So I called some facilities, and here's the ironic part is we had a vacation scheduled. This was on a Sunday. We were leaving on a road trip on Saturday. I called these facilities. First of all, the price was outrageous. Again, uninsured. They were saying $1,500 a day. Minimum stays 21 days. That's a lot of money. And I said, there's no way.
Just go to Hawaii.
Honestly, it'd probably help just as much being on the beach. And so I said, okay, well, I can't do that. And then I said, I also can't check myself in. That's going to ruin our vacation on Saturday. And my kids were looking forward to it. We were going with our friends. And my psychiatrist said, so you didn't want to ruin your vacation by checking yourself in, but you don't think killing yourself is going to affect it.
How dare you reason with me?
I know. I was like,
you
stop
son
it.
of a bitch.
I was like, yeah, I get it. Doesn't make any sense. But again, it's just these games that depression plays on you where it's like, yeah, I mean, my kids will be fine. Oh, but I'm institutionalized. They're going to have a hard time. They're not going to go without me. They're going to be mad at me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that was interesting. And a lot of people won't be able to wrap their heads around that. But very interesting. So I said, okay, you know what? I'll talk to Kasia. It took a couple days. I tried on a Saturday night. I talked to her on Tuesday and talk about dropping a bomb. Again, I feel bad for her because she's saying, man, we love you so much. We need you. You know, just getting that bomb drop that I tried to kill myself it's just a tough pill to swallow.
Who were you expecting would find you?
See, and that, I mean, my wife in the morning, not great. But I was, you know, you
Talk
get
about trauma.
Yeah. Yep. And again, I'm really grateful I was not successful because I also didn't want my kids to see that. But you get in this mindset, you just don't care. Like when you're to the point of killing yourself, I mean, I shouldn't say this for everybody. For me, when I was to the point of committing suicide, I didn't care. I was so miserable. I just wanted the pain to be over. It is really hard. The day in and day out of it, it's tough. And I don't wish it on my worst enemy. It is a terrible place to be. We ended up going on our road trip, had a lot of fun. And then I said, okay, I got to reach out to my psychiatrist. So I talked to her and I got back on meds. We got home from our road trip and we went to a concert, took my oldest daughter to her first concert, went to Old Dominion, big country fan. And we were in the middle of the concert and I look at my daughter, she's having the time of her life. We're having the time of our lives. And I was like, what is this? I was like, I'm like really happy right now. I was like, this is strange. Like I can see color. And that was like the beginning of my TMS really kicking in, where I was like, I had not felt that joy in so long. And I was like, this is weird, but I like it. You know, I was like, this is really nice. And it was like a catalyst where since then I've been doing much better. I know it hasn't been that long. We're talking like 6 weeks, 5 weeks, something like that. But I got back on medication, met with my psychiatrist, which obviously helps.
Same meds, different meds?
Different meds. Yep. Different meds. And yeah, I just have been in a better place. Like I said, the TMS for some people, it's instantaneous. For me, it took a couple weeks. And I mean, I've been doing pretty good where I am like excited about things. And I honestly, like I would always tell my wife, like, I just can't get excited about anything. Like nothing. I'm like, you know, when you go to bed, you're like, oh man, I got A, B, and C tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a good day. I mean, you know how it is when you're depressed. It's like, well, it's just another day. Like it's a grind. We got to just go through the motions. Yeah, it's been a stark contrast to where I was, where I do, again, feel like I'm seeing the world in color, just in a really good spot. Doesn't mean I haven't had bad days. I've definitely had bad days. And I think that's just going to be life. And I need to learn from the past and realize, okay, you know what? A bad day doesn't mean this is your forever, right? You can't let the bad days win and it'll get better.
Yeah. And to just accept and embrace those bad days. Be like, instead of resisting, I feel like shit. Why am I resisting it? Let's just feel like shit so that I can process it and it's gone.
Yep.
Moving on.
But it's hard, man. Those bad days just suck. Like trying to raise a family, you know, like my 3 kids, love them to death. Chore day. Oh man, they're like the spawn of Satan. They start fighting. They're screaming at each other. And I was getting mad at my 7-year-old and I said, you need to learn to control your emotions. And she said, so do you. And I was like, yep.
Don't fucking reason with me.
And I was like, all right, girl, you are right. Like I've been losing my crap. Like when I got off my medication, the rage was something I'd never experienced. I haven't been like.
That's why you were restringing so many
tennis rackets. Yeah. You know, just like this rage. And my fuse was so short. And anyways, it just compounds, right? Like depression, raising kids, work, everything. You just get so overwhelmed. It's just a tough place to be.
Well, I'm glad you're doing better. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that you reached out.
Thank you.
But if this is not just, okay, there's going to be bad days, but if you have another bad chunk, are you like preparing for that? And I don't mean dreading it coming.
No,
but like
for
just
sure.
preparing, like, okay, I have to be self-aware. This is, you have a checklist. This is what makes me feel better when I'm feeling like this.
Yes.
This is, yeah.
So I'm glad you asked this question. I definitely have ways to make me feel better. And yes, I am preparing. My mindset has really changed quite a bit, realizing how much it would affect my kids if I killed myself, where I've told myself, we've got to get better because that's not the solution. Your kids need you. Your wife needs you. Again, coming from a depressed person, it's hard to accept. But I am preparing for them in the sense of, okay, they're going to come. Doesn't mean that's going to be the rest of your life. What are you going to do to combat it? Some of the things that have helped me, the gym for me is just a non-negotiable, as much as for physical health, mostly for mental health. Honestly, it's like a reprieve for me. I'm there for hour and a half, either lifting with a friend, by myself, have my headphones in, and it is just therapeutic for me. Reading has been like the biggest saver for me because it takes you to another world, right? People think I'm crazy. I love Stephen King. I actually read It last year and helped me a tremendous amount because I get taken into this other world, crazy clowns, all the things. But man, it was like therapeutic for me just being immersed into another world, and it's kind of an escape. And so when I am down, reading is one of the best things for me. Just last Saturday, or a week and a half ago, terrible day, and I was like, great, here we go again. We had plans to go out with our friends. We were going to dinner because one of our friends just got his MBA. But anyways, I said to my wife, I was like, I don't want to go. I'm just not in the mood to be with people. And she said, you need to go because it always helps. We went to dinner, had a great time, came back to our house. We just hung out. And honestly, my friends have been rocks for me. Like,
weighing you down?
No. Yes, that's exactly what it is. No, they've just been like stability. I don't have to hide who I am from them. I can talk to them about it. They are like my inner circle, and I don't let a lot of people into my inner circle. So shout out to Todd and Carol and Chris and Lauren. We're really close. Travel a lot with them. Have kids the same ages. And they're always there for me. And for Cassia, I can count on them for anything. And another shout out to our Oregon friends, Mike and Emily. We just went on vacation with them. They're amazing. They are just the nicest people. They knew we were struggling financially, helped pay for some therapy bills and stuff like that. I've got some really good people in my life that have definitely helped. So yeah, just want to give them a shout out because they pull my head out. Yeah, that's been the biggest help. And honestly, my family, I have a really good relationship with them. And so when we get together, same thing, I'm able to pull my head out and be like, oh, you know what? This is fun. And the thing I've realized through all this, because I've gone through this thing of like, what is the point of life? Like, I don't know. It's such a deep question that no one can really give you a straight answer to. But I realized for me, life's about relationships. That's really all that matters at the end of the day, is cultivating those relationships. And like I said, I have my inner circle and I'm so grateful for them. And I value them more than they probably know. But yeah, those have been the things that have helped me the most. Yeah. And it was great. We hung out on Saturday. We did dinner, did a fire pit, did s'mores with the kids. And I was talking to them and they said, man, I've noticed like a big difference in you. Like you just seem lighter. And I was like, man, that's so good to hear because I felt better.
I'm on ketamine.
Yeah. Well, I'm on meds. But they're like, yeah, just like you can tell there's something different in a good way. And I was like, well, that makes me feel better because I've been feeling good, but I haven't wanted to get like too excited about it. Like I want to remain cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
this too shall pass. I used to get stuck on that. I wouldn't let myself feel happy because I knew this too shall pass and it's just going to be a big disappointment.
Yep. Oh man. How many times I've said that. And my wife just rolls her eyes and she's like, can you just be happy about something?
I'm scared to be happy that there's the fall is deep.
Yeah, it is.
Who knew that when that guy commented on that thing on Reddit, that it potentially was the beginning of the rest of your life?
Seriously. And I wish I could ever find him and tell him that, because that was easily the most impactful thing I've ever read. And it's really sad because of what he had to deal with, but his ability to help someone else was pretty profound. I mean, I would love to be able to help someone, just like that guy helped me. I would love to be able to help someone that same way. So I think it's too important of a topic to not talk about. And I know I need to do better. A lot of people have no idea I deal with this because I just keep it, so close to the vest.
Thank you so much, Brady, for reaching out, for telling us your story and telling us about your recovery. And I'm very happy that you reached out. And I hope nothing but the best for your recovery, for your family, your business, and everything. So thanks again, buddy. If you want to know more about me, about the podcast, you can go to my website, www.bunnyhugspodcast.com. It's all the links to my socials and merch store, and buy me a coffee if you want to send me a little tip. Please, please, please remember to rate and review the podcast on Apple or whatever platforms you're listening on, if it's possible to do that on those platforms. And until next time, please remember to make your beds and take your meds. Bye.